All right. So let's get into the first story of the day. It is a big news story because we thought all along the Samsung S24 series, S24, S24 Plus, S24 Ultra, were going to come in two variants, right? They was going to have an Exynos variant for basically the rest of the world. The only variants that were going to receive the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 CPU was going to be the United States and South Korea. As you know, South Korea is the home of Samsung. But that was the plan all along, or at least we thought so. News came out today that that is not the case. Look, Samsung is ramping up manufacturing. They launch it in 10 days, or announce it, the S24 series, in 10 days on January the 17th, and we'll do a special live stream just for that. But as they manufacture these, they probably started manufacturing these variants, meaning starting to make them, right? Putting them in the box, getting them ready to ship. They've probably started manufacturing, I would like to say, at the beginning of the month, possibly even late into December, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I would like to think somewhere within the last 1 to 2 weeks they started manufacturing these. And this leak came out because all these variants start to get manufactured, put in boxes. Well, people working in the manufacturing warehouse, that's how a lot of the leaks get out, right? So the leaks get out either from, and I mentioned this before, the leaks either get out from the manufacturer, meaning Samsung, somebody in their marketing team or PR team will leak out certain information or pieces of news to these publications like Android Headlines. And another way of info leaking out is actual eyes on the ground, right? So there'll be people either bribed into leaking information of people that are actually on the working line, taking this off the assembly line, doing quality control checks, people putting them in the boxes, whatever, right? Whatever it is. But they'll get little pieces of information. Oh, wow, they'll check out the device and then pass on the info. So it came out, and this is exactly how this piece of information got out. The Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 version is going to be in all S24 series devices. That's very good news. Samsung is not including the Exynos variant in the S24 Ultra or S24. A little history with S24. With Snapdragon. Lord have mercy. With Exynos, I've only had one device. No, I take that back. I've had two devices with Exynos processors. My experience was fine, but that was probably 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. As of recently, Samsung and the general public have been wanting the Snapdragon variant of the Samsung devices because they basically run smoother. So Exynos is a processor that's owned and manufactured by Samsung. And it would kind of make sense, right? That Samsung, just like Apple, right? They make their CPU and they manufacture their CPU and they place it in their Apple phone. So you would think, well, I'm sure Samsung, wants to do that. Look what Google's doing. Google's designing and manufacturing their own CPU, the Tensor, from the ground up, and they're putting it in their phone. I was pleasantly surprised to see this. I'm very excited for the Snapdragon CPU. It's going to be a beast, but it does make you wonder, where is Samsung going with Exynos? Are they going to sell it to another company? Because look, these Exynos processors that Samsung owns and has manufactured in the past have basically always run hot. So they've always faced two issues when it comes to other CPUs, when they're compared to other CPUs. For one, they overheat, and two, they're just not as powerful. Well, I guess 3. They're not battery efficient. They tend to chew up the battery, which is why nobody wants to use an Exynos Samsung. The ones I used was in a. It was a Samsung Galaxy S2. Yes, we're on a S24, and I used an Exynos processor in the Samsung Galaxy S2. And then, if you remember, when the curved screens got popular, I used an Exynos processor in the Samsung Galaxy S6 Plus, the one with the curved screen, S6 Plus, I believe it was, with the gold back. So I've used them before, but definitely prefer the Snapdragon processor. Now, they're going to have 2 different variants of this Snapdragon. It'll be an 8 Gen 3 in all of them, but they're just having 2 different variants. Now, what's the difference in those 2 variants? Well, apparently it's just clock speed, right? How fast how fast that these processors can ramp up to. That's all. Apparently, look, they do have to, and why did they do that? I have no idea, but guessing is because of the modems. Not all carriers in all countries use the same modems, frequencies, bands to get your 5G or 4G data. And I'm assuming that different countries require different frequencies and or modems inside the device, and maybe one modem or one variant has to be ramped up a little bit more than the other. I'm not sure, but I'll definitely look into see as far as, well, why don't they just put the 8 Gen 3 for all of them? I don't know. Now, it does not say in this article why that is, but it does mention that the stock 8 Gen 3, I believe the one we are getting, the US version, it has a maximum clock speed of 3.3 gigahertz. It says for the 2 variants in the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, it's going to be labeled B, N, or U. U is the United States variant. It would be like, their model number will be like S928U. That'll be for United States and represents Samsung's home market in I was about to say North Korea, in South Korea. While B does not have specific regions, but likely to cover the rest of the world. No Exynos 2400. So, what does the other one clock at? And it makes you wonder, okay, so there's only 100 megahertz difference, which is not much, right? So I'm assuming it's just a tiny little tweak that they had to do, and that's the only difference in an S24 Ultra that's sold here in the United States and an S24 Ultra that's sold in South Korea or Russia or I don't know, Europe, right? In Sweden. So it's got to be just a minor tweak for the modem that's placed in this new device. But good news, right? But it makes you wonder, what are their plans with the Exynos line? What are they going to do with it, right? Because this is their flagship device. You would think they would want to showcase their flagship CPU in their flagship device, but apparently that's just not the case. The demand worldwide is much, much higher for the Snapdragon variants. In fact, you can get a lot more for them on the aftermarket, selling them if it has a Snapdragon compared to Exynos. But let's jump into the next one. So that's good news. If any other news comes out with this, I'll definitely let you know.